In this video, we're going to focus on how we can highlight certain items if we click on it. For example, here I click here on the sales and it will highlight this specific line. If I click here on stock, it will change the line here. And of course, if I want to reset it, it will go back here. So what we're going to do basically is convert. Once we click on it, that specific line will be highlighted with its original color, while the others will be converted in color and get this dotted line. So let's explore how to highlight a specific line on click in the line chart in Chart.js. To do this, we first need our default code, so make sure you go to chartjs3.com getting started, and then you can also find the link in the description box, and then just copy this entire chunk of code. And if you want to understand what this code does, please watch this specific video that explains it all. So I'm going to paste all of that in here, and then I will just cut out the title. Put the title in there. Alright. Save that. Refresh. And now what we're going to do is we're going to convert it into a line chart. And in our case, I want to have multiple lines. So what I will say here, I'll just say line. And then next, I'm going to copy this data set. And I'm just going to duplicate it 2 more times. Alright. So one would be called the sales. Let's say the other one was the stock price or the stock, and then the other one would be the profits, for example. So now we have this, and what we want to do here, of course, is give each of them a unique color. So what I will do here is I'll just grab one of this color for that, just put it in there, and put it in here for the border. Make sure that this is a solid color. Next, what I want to do here for the other one would be this blue color here. I'll just put that in there. And then I will put it here for the background color, which is also 0.2. Finally, what I want here is the last one. I'm just going to get the red color here. Put it in there. Put it in here as well. And make sure that this is 0.2. Alright, so this is the weekly sales. What I want to do here, at least give it a different value. 24, 12, 18, 24. Then we have 6 and we have 18 here. Then here I'll just do 9, 6, 3, 4.5, 6, and then let's make this 9, and then here 18. Alright, so if I save this now, and before I even, well, let's save this first, refresh, you can see here we have these very narrow lines, but we have 3 lines here. That's alright. So let's remove this. So the border width will be nice and thick. If I save that, refresh. Alright. And finally, I want to make this line a bit more elastic. We can put it basically in here, saying tension 0.4. If you do like this, then you have only one line, so we have to duplicate that. So what I want to do, instead of duplication, to put it in all 3, I'm just going to put it here in the options and say tension 0.4. And what happens automatically, every one of these will be a nice elastic line like this. Alright, so now we have this, and what I want to do now is of course create these buttons to highlight and make it a dotted line. So let's start with that, and then we're going to do, here's the following. We're going to create here a button, and this button here we can say here on click you want to trigger a certain function. So what we call this function is, let's say, highlight line function. And then what I want to do here, button, let's look at it, and you can see here we have the weekly sales, stock, and profit. So I'm going to grab it in that order as well. So let's say here sales, and then I'll just copy this, and then I will explain later on what we're going to do with the parameters. We have sales, we have stock, and then we have profit. Then here, or this, I set parameters, but this is basically the argument. The argument is in here, but in JavaScript we call the parameter, because this here is the official value. That's why it's called an argument. And I'm going to use here 0, 1, and 2. This refers to the data sets here on purpose. So this is data set index 0, which is weekly sales. Then we have here the stock index number 1, and then etc, etc. So we have this one, and then what we want to do here is these 3 buttons. What I also want eventually is a reset button. So we're going to do that later on. I'm going to call this a reset button. But this reset button right now has nothing. So save this, refresh. Alright, so now what I want to do here, because this is what we call the argument. So now let's show this argument in here. So I'm going to say a function, and this function is called the highlight line. I'm going to put it in here, and then here, this is what we call parameter. But the parameter is basically the argument value, but the argument here is the official value, and the parameter would be just the line, or it will be a name, but that name reference is basically showing whatever we click. So if I click on this, put it in here, or console log line, save this, refresh, open up developer tab. If I click now on sale, what happens is we grab the argument, and it will be read in JavaScript. Now you can see here, and because of this, we can now easily convert our item. So what we're going to do here is very important. We're going to change color, or we're going to change the structure. But what I want to do is I want to highlight them in colors, because the request was to have a highlight. And what I thought with a highlight would be to maintain the original color, while everything else should become maybe a slightly grayish color. So there will be lesser focus on that and high focus on the one that we selected. So to do this, if we're going to modify, we need to make sure that we also have the original array value intact, meaning these color values here, if we're going to modify it into, for example, gray, we will lose the values. So what we need to do now is to make sure we have a structure that keeps the values or the color values in memory. This is very important. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just create a constant, and I'm going to create here, this constant is basically the background color, and this is just an array. And next what I'm going to use here is another one, which will be the constant for border color, and the border color will be a map method functionality, and the map method helps you to keep an array in its original. So basically it will duplicate this array and keep those values there without modifying this reference here. So these two will be separate from each other. So we have the original in place, or at least in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to grab these colors. So we have these colors as a backup here. And then later on, once we update our chart with different colors, we can still reference to these border colors here later on. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about, because that will make far more sense. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, where do we get these colors? Well, if you look at it, we can just go from data to data sets. That will be then the first step. So we're going to say here, data, and then we say here dot data sets. Here we have always the index, but of course this is an array, so that's why I'm going to use here the map functionality, and the map method helps us with this. So what we're going to do here is the following. I'm going to say here color, and what we're going to do here is the following. I'm going to say here color, which is basically a reference for this, and then later on we're going to put in the color item in here. So we're going to say here a function or arrow function expression, curly braces, and then in here we're going to start doing the following. And let me show you exactly what I'm talking about if I say color. So the color here in essence is basically data.datasets, and then it understands this is an array. So if I save this, you should see here 3 items. Basically it will loop through these. You can see here it gets first the first one, which is the red color, and then gets here the blue color, and then the yellow color, which is sales, stock, profit. So it recognizes all these values. But however, what I need is very specific the background color and the border color. So let's grab the border color first, because this is here the border color. So I'm going to say here color dot border color, and if I save this now and refresh, you see we get now all the colors with solid 1, meaning the solid color. Alright, so we have this, and what I want to do here next is the following. This is the reason why I have this BG color here, which is an array. I'm going to push a value, and what I'm going to push, well, specifically not the border color but the background color here. So once I have this, and then here all I have to do here is to say return, because why? It will basically push it into this constant here, which is an array, because the map functionality understands that this is an array. So once we do this, we have now our colors. So if I do here console dot maybe that table, so you can see that these are a nice array, it will be nicely organized. Put it in there, and another table here, border color. Save this, refresh, and you can see here we get now the index, and we get the values here, and these values are nicely here. This is 0.2 and the other one here shows it nicely as 1, meaning this is the border colors, while this one is the background color. So we have this, and I'm going to show you now why this is so important. So let's start to work on the highlight color. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put on some extra enters so we have some extra space. That's a bit more comfortable for me. Alright, so what we're going to do now is the following. We're going to start and update. But what I need to update is the following. We need to make this a border dash. Basically, to do a border dash is very straightforward. I need to just have here a new option which is called the border dash, and here the border dash would be, if you would do 6, 6, you would have here a dotted line. Beautiful, but we don't want it here. What I want here is just no border dash, or at least I assign it, but just say there's no dotted line here. We just have a solid line here, and I don't want to do anything else. But I need this here, or else we will get an error because there's no reference to it. So that's why I'm going to put that already here in place. So refresh here, everything is fine, and then let's go here. Now let's start to create it. So what I want to do here, just for the sake of it, first one will be very simple. We can say here for my chart.config, and then here .data, then .data sets. Then here we're going to reference to the line here. Remember, that's the index number. That's why we had this here. And then we say here border dash, and then I'll make this one 0, 0. And the reason why is this is the original, because if I would do right now just 6 by 6, you'll see the one if you click on sales. Alright, so it doesn't work yet. Why? We need to do here my chart dot update. So because we're going to update, of course, the chart itself, which is basically the canvas. And this here is just the, maybe I didn't explain that one. Let me explain. This is my chart config data and data sets. How did I get that? From my chart here into the config, and from config we go to data, which is this shorthand here. And from data, we go here to the specific data set. So if I save this now, and now I click on this, you can see here this works. But of course, in our case, the request was not to highlight, or at least to make the selected one dotted. No, I want to make everything else dotted, and the selected one should be not dotted. So that would mean that here we're going to put 0, 0, and I'm going to show you now why this is so important. So what we're going to do here now is, what I want to do is I want to loop through every data set, and we're going to use again the map functionality, and then convert all of these lines into a dotted line. And then later on afterwards, once they're all dotted, I want to then reset the selected one, which we have selected here, to not dotted. So let's start to do this. So we're going to say here is the following. We can just do here constant. And then in this constant, well, let's say here, what we can do here is maybe we can use a chart data or chart data object. Doesn't matter so much. Basically, it is an object. So we can say chart data object, but it can be anything you want to name it. And all I want to do here is I want to say my chart dot config dot data, and then dot data sets. So what we're really doing is we're going to basically get here to the data sets. We're going to use very similar to this here, but then we're going here from this structure, and then I'm going to say here dot map. And then here again we can just give it a name. This could be like here what we did with color, because we have basically the same structuring, but I'll just call it here as a proper name, a data set. So this data set here, a function arrow expression again, and then here it will loop through every data set. So if I do now a console log again, just again for showing you what we're doing, and I'm going to hide this line here, save this, refresh, select this. If we select this, you will always see these values here, which is exactly the same as again the data set. But this is every individual data set here. Meaning now we're looping through this data set, and then we could basically reassign a border dash with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of this, put that now in here. So we say dataset dot border dash, and then here I'll just make this 6 by 6. Basically 6 pixels in solid line and 6 pixels in white space. You can change this. You can make this 5 by 2, whatever you want. So we can do this. If I click on that, you can see here now what is happening we have now selected on sales. But if I convert this, there you are, you can see here, and if I change this again here, so this is nicely dynamic, meaning that if you would have more lines, they will automatically convert into a dotted line. So this is very important. So if you click here on sales, let's see, yeah, that's it. Then you have here the solid line. But what I want to do more is, because this here is nice, but I want to make them gray as well, to convert the color. And this is the reason why I had these original colors here. So what I'm going to do here is the following. Let's look at it. And maybe this here should be 5 by 5. That's just a bit more easier to read. And then the next thing what I want to do here, then we can even remove this console log here, I guess. I don't know why we have that one here. That's not necessary. Just the update of the dotted line. So the next thing what I want to do here is the border color. So I'm going to say a data set dot border color, and then we're going to put in here the border color will be, well, we can do a gray. I'll just get the hashtag 666, which is one of the official colors of Chartjs. And in here, you could even use this 6 by 6. That's usually a quite nice one. There we are. So if I save this now, refresh, select this, you can see here now what is happening. Everything is now converting into gray, which is nice, but I don't want that because the solid one should be in place. So what we need to do here is basically get the original color. So how do we get this original color here? Well, basically, we can just copy this entire structure here, put it in here. Remember, this line here indicates the index number. But what is very nice, because this here, our border color, has 3 items in the array. And let me show you. So if I do here, well, let's do a console log first. You can see that this border color, console log, save that, refresh, and if I select this, you can see here 3 items, meaning the index number is directly matched with the matching color here of the border. So what we could do here is, in here, my chart config data datasets line, and then we say here border color equals b color, and then here the index number will be line, which is exactly this number here. So this helps us. If I save this now, refresh, click on that, and there we are. So now we have this, but we're not done yet because we are still needing a reset button. And what I want to do here as well, you can see here, we could probably do also the background color. So I want to do this one as well. We can do exactly the same for the background color, BG color here, and then here we're going to type in background color. Save this, refresh, and then now if I click on that, there we are, there we are, there we are. Is it working? For some reason, I have a feeling it doesn't. Oh, of course. Why it doesn't? Because the background color here has not been defined yet. So we could do here, I'll just say here background color. We'll make that in solid. So if I select this, you can see here this is very solid. And if we do this, you can see here now this changes nicely, but you can see everything else has been matched. All right, so now we have this. Now let's finalize it with the last functionality here. This is a semicolon, so we have all of this here now in place. Let's clear up all the excess. So what I want to do is the final one, which is basically function and then reset. And the reset is very straightforward. Basically, the reset is again a map functionality. But now what I want to do here is I just want to loop through all of this. So what I'm going to do here is my chart, and then what I'm going to do here is dot config, and then dot data, and then data sets, all right, and then dot map. So in here, what I'm going to do here is basically we're going to use 2 parameters here. One is called the data set, which is just basically this part here, but also we have the index. So we have the data set, comma, index. And this is very important. This is the reason why I have double parentheses, because I am now enclosing these. So this is the reason why you have double parentheses here. Here you might notice there's only single parentheses because I'm not using, if I use index, you can see I get a color error. Unless I will do here a double parentheses. But if you only have one item, no need for double parentheses, you can do a single parentheses. All right, so now we have this here, then here curly braces. What I want to do here is just simply a update of all of these items, but then back with the original color here, and then also reset all the border dashes into 0. Because right now, as you can see here, if we click on it, we are not able to reset them. So what we're going to do here is basically we have here the data set, which is just the item here, remember. That's just this entire part, and then we say here dot. And then what we're going to get here is the background color. And the background color will be equal to index. Not even index, but it will be equal to bg color, it's capital C, index. And what I realize is I need to probably explain this one. So let me explain this first. So what is really the index? Well, basically the index is matching with the data set. So if you will see here, this is exactly automatic of every item that's being used. So if I click on this, does it work? Reset. Let's see if the button has been active. Not yet. So I'm going to say Onclick equal reset. Reset will be blank parameter or argument. There's no argument needed for that. Refresh. Click on reset. You can see here 0, 1, and 2, which reference to all of these. So then what I want to do here, of course, is this with the index here. And if I do this, then the next thing what I want to do is, of course, not only for the background color, I want to do the same, but then for the border color. So I'm going to do here border. Then here I'm going to type in B color. Once I did that, the final one is basically the data set dot border dash, and the border dash equals 0, 0, because I want to set this back into no dotted line, basically. So once we have this, then we can do here semicolon, enter, and then we say here my chart dot update, and then we update the entire item back to its original shape. Click on this, on that, and this, and then reset. Beautiful. And of course, if you have more lines, you can add them up, and this will work all nicely, as long as you have these buttons here matching with the numbers here. That's it. And this is basically how you can play around by showing and resetting these lines. So if you enjoyed this video, there's also another video that might be of interest of you, which is about how to change the line thickness on the hover on a line chart. Where basically when you hover over the line chart or that specific line, that line will become thicker or increase or expand in thickness, which is a very interesting one as well, which changes slightly a different way of interactivity in a chart.